Hello, Bengals fans. Welcome to this special Chalk Talk slash Rookie Report crossover. I am Matt Minich. Joining me today, John Sheeran. John, how you doing?
I'm doing good. As a lot of people remember, we did an episode like this at the midseason point, and now we're just going to do a season long, I guess more of a second half recap of some of these rookies. And this is nice because usually I have a post prepared for this and it's sort of like really damn long, but this is nice to just like condense it all down to a video and have another set of eyes with me. So Matt, I'm glad to be here again.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is definitely went over really well the last time, and it's always good to have a second set of eyes on things. We all have our biases coming into things, and like you have draft picks you like, you have draft picks you don't like. So it's always good to kind of bounce some ideas off of each other and look at different perspectives because lots of times you're going to see something I'm not, and vice versa. So we're going to start off. We're going to go in kind of a different order today. We will get to Burrow. Burrow's going to be at the end, but we're going to start with T. Higgins. I mean, really, I think if you look at the second half of the year, T was the guy.
No, he was. And like, this was something that when I say we, I mean me and Anthony Cosenza on the Orange Black Inside, we talked with this about Tim McGee, like for T. Higgins to take that next step in 2021, like he's going to get the attention more of the number one quarterbacks. But that was almost not necessarily the entire case in the later half of 2020 because AJ Green was still on the field, but you saw Higgins ascend more as a primary option in this offense, and he was getting the attention of quality cornerbacks, and he was still producing against them and with a backup quarterback at his helm. So this was a quality game against the Dolphins. He was going up against Byron Jones, and that secondary, I believe that was, he was against Byron Jones. That was Byron Jones right there, and also Xavier Howard on this team as well. So this is nice.
That's a great route.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what stood out to me in this game. He had some awesome routes. We talk about, I don't know, I kind of hate the term separation. And I think separation gets blown out of proportion a little bit because I think, we talk about in terms of like average yards of separation, but I really don't think it matters. I just think that there's like a minimum you have to have. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like those things can be thrown out of perspective. And look, T. We know T didn't test very well. He's not a speed guy, and yet he's still a deep threat because he can stride and he can get open down the field. And you see, despite again he didn't test very well. Look at these routes he's running. He threatened Byron Jones deep there, and he's able to get open on the quick hitch.
I will say that there are different types of separation that you can create. Like obviously there's scheme separation, which is what you see a lot with the Chiefs. There's just being just a natural athlete and having that speed in your back pocket to thread on some of these vertical stems in order to then break off and then create separation on your own. But also there's the physical part of it. And I think Higgins kind of wins in kind of half and half with athleticism and physicality. He's able to break press off the line because he's just a bigger dude, and that size helps. But also I do think he has a little bit more burst in his pocket than a lot of us maybe realize coming into the NFL. Like you see right there, that's both of them. That's explosion, but it's also great hand usage.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, look at again how he's threatening this guy. The guy's turning and opening up, and boom, he's gone, and Higgins is there, and he's moving the chains with that. I mean, that's an awesome play, and yeah, you're absolutely right. That I think not to get on to non-rookies too much, but I think that's a little bit of what Auden Tate is lacking, like for his body. Mm-hmm. For what he could do in terms of physical separation. He doesn't use his body as well as he needs to for being that size. But T's not nearly as big as him, but T's definitely able to do that.
Right, and it helps being 206 compared to 230, which is what Auden Tate is nowadays. But
sure, yeah. Well, but that's what I'm saying. At what 6'5" or 6'6", 230,
yeah,
he should be able to body guys up a little bit more. He should be able to use his body to shield off the ball a little bit more, and you don't see a ton of that. So this was the Cowboys game. We saw a couple of drops in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you notice right here, though, I mean, this is a great shot from the tighter angle here. Just watch his eyes. He's trying to make a play.
He's hearing footsteps.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy coming over the middle, and he's trying to look upfield and decide what best to go. But that last play against the Dolphins, when he hurled against him, he actually injured his hamstring on that play, and that hamstring injury impacted him for the rest of the season. And actually, he re-aggravated it in the season finale against Baltimore. That's why he went out of the game. So fun play, but also unfortunately a little damper towards the end of the season, though.
Yeah, and for anybody who's a high school player or something that's watching these videos, like those hurdle plays look really cool, but they do lead to a lot of injuries. So it's usually not a very smart play. Sometimes you got to do that though, but usually not a very smart play. So yeah, I mean, T really seemed to step up over the course of the year. That there's that drop. We're going to see another drop here against the Cowboys. But I mean, he didn't get scared. He didn't go away. He didn't lose it mentally. There's a clutch play on 4th and 2. They're trusting him. They're going to him. Makes the play, and you can see he makes the play. He's looking upfield again. He's got to gain some yards.
Yeah, but I mean that's right on the tips of his fingertips. He's not body catching that. It's not even like the palm. It's like right on the fingertips, which is where you want. Like that's the quickest way to do it. But like it's another testament to just like when you're evaluating a receiver in general, and let's just say he has a season where it's full of drops, and like that doesn't carry over to another season. That's just like the nature of drops. Like they're just very inconsistent. There's just a lot of variables involved with it. But if a player has a stretch where he just happens to get the dropsies, like. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's an issue going forward for his entire career, for an entire season. Like sometimes they just come and go.
Unless you're Braylon Edwards, then you're just going to drop the ball all the time.
Oh, rip.
Yeah, that was kind of a dick move. I didn't mean it like that. Here, I think we saw this a lot in the Steelers game where he just kind of found some nice soft spots in zones. So he's pretty good at sitting down in zones. You're going to see him right here too. Not only sitting down, but I mean, actually, Brandon Allen does a pretty good job of kind of putting the ball away from the zone and helping him turn upfield in some of these plays too.
I also think because there was the AJ Green comparison that was being thrown around with him, and like the body types are similar, but I also think like the start and stop and the acceleration and the ability to drop his hips at the top of these routes, I think is very reminiscent of AJ as well, where it's like you can have that speed at the beginning of the route, and having that speed also takes the pressure off you if you're playing in off coverage like this, but also just like right there. There's no wasted movement, right? It's all in 1, 2, 3. Drop your hips, turn back. The timing's good, and that obviously came with the more he played. But I think that's where you're starting to see the AJ Green comparison come to life. Yeah,
and I think you see it here with Brandon Allen that this is Finley.
Yeah, that's Finley.
Finley there. I mean, I forgot that was Finley in this game. I mean, they seem to have a pretty good rapport with each other too, and like he's placing the ball in a good spot there. So it's nice to know that kind of built up even with Burrow out with the backup in there. And we're going to see more of that stuff develop over time with Burrow, as we know from year 1 to year 2. Burrow made some big strides in those areas.
Sorry about
but yeah,
that.
I mean, he does some really nice stuff, and there were. That's something about the Steelers game too. Like the first Steelers matchup, it looked like it was too big for this team, which is something that happens to this team a lot. But even with Joe Burrow, we all thought that Joe Burrow was the cure to that. Even with Joe Burrow, that was a problem in that game. And T, I think, is a big leader in that area on offense. But the second time around, you didn't see that at all. Even with Ryan Finley at quarterback and playing on Monday Night Football, the moment the situation wasn't too big.
It was apparently too big for Pittsburgh. I've just never seen a team collapse like that relative to expectations.
Yes,
that was insane. So let's go to the Texans
game here. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean everything about this, like the release, the stack, and finding the ball. And to be able to get 2 feet in bounds, like that's balance, that's timing, and it was a perfect throw, but he didn't need to use his body to catch it and just reeled it in.
Yeah, just tracking that over his shoulder like that, and then honestly, the first foot's impressive, but then the presence of mind to put that foot right in front,
3,
and get the third step in there just for good measure. Whew, that thing is beautiful.
Yeah. We all know this one.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
It's insane. It's an insane throw, but still, like, oh man, that second toe tap. That's insane.
Oh.
I think he gets a knee in here too. But just
drag. Yep. Yeah, that knee might be on the line, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. Overall thoughts. I mean, I think T might be the guy. Like, and that doesn't say anything about Boyd. Like, I think T might be the go guy next year. I think he's. We talked about this before, but the way he makes those contested catches, the way he makes adjustments and stuff, like he's the ideal pairing for Burrow. I mean, geez, if you throw Jamar Chase in there too,
exactly.
Give him 4.5 seconds, and we got something going here, right?
Yeah, if you have an offense with, and it doesn't even have to be Chase, it could be like a Curtis Samuel or just someone else dynamic that can take attention for the defense. If you give those guys combined like 350 targets, like the offense is as good as you can expect it to be as long as the protection's fine. But like you said, like Higgins, he did all this at 21 years old. I think that matters a lot. He just turned 22 and he's learning all this stuff on the fly. But he's really good for how young he already is. And just for receivers who produce like him early, it's a very good sign. It doesn't even have to be a dominant number one. Like it's unfair to put the AJ Green expectations on him, but he's going to be. We already know he's going to be a really solid player.
Sure, yeah, and I don't know. I tend to look at these things a little bit differently, and I think he could be. I think he could be the guy in terms of that's where Burrow wants to look. That's where Burrow wants to go with the football. And where Boyd is, we expect Boyd to be that kind of guy, but I think it gives you a guy like that on the outside where it's like, we really need this one. We really need to make a play right here. And it's not necessarily, a 40-yard touchdown. It's a move the sticks. It's it's an explosive play, but not necessarily a big bomb or something like that. That's why I see starting to develop here. Unfortunately, it would be great to have an off-season program, but even if the world goes back to normal, we have an off-season program. We're not going to have a Joe Burrow, throwing full anyway, sort of situation. Unfortunately, this year, so we're going to have to wait a little bit on some of that chemistry to develop with some of these guys. So moving forward, we're talking about Logan Wilson here.
He had a couple good plays against Washington, just scraping off the top here, showing blitz, and then
I love this one.
Yeah, that's effort.
That's an awesome play. Yeah, great effort. This guy's all over the place. I like this one here against the Giants. Like a lot of guys that they'll see that and they just back off into coverage, and he's like, "I'm going. Nope, that's my guy. I'm going."
It's crazy because he's not Devin White fast at linebacker, but he's definitely faster than anyone that they've had in a long time. Which is
yes,
it just means so much more. And then
look at him shooting that gap.
Like at this point in the season, this is like December. I think he's so much more comfortable there, and like you're just seeing the instincts. You're just seeing the athleticism take over because he's comfortable with where he's going, with what he's reading, and then you just use that just solid all around athleticism to his benefit.
And here we see he started on the line of scrimmage here, drops off, makes a play on the ball there. He was showing A-gap blitz, I believe, in the line of scrimmage. Yep. Gets his hand on the ball. We know he's got a couple picks. We know he had another near pick.
This one is just again from the other side of the field.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's a pass rusher here.
Yeah. And it might not mean much. Like it's a 15-yard play, but still, like the fact that he's the one to make the play and come all the way back, it counts for something.
No, absolutely. And I mean, at the end of the day, you got 11 guys doing that. You got a freaking defense.
Mm-hmm. This one, it was so close to a pick. I think he was.
He had a couple of those this year.
It's just one of those. Like he's just like there's pressure in the pocket, and he's trying to read where Tua is looking, and then just kind of stumbles down. But he was one of the only linebackers in recent memory that had like a certain amount of tackles and pass deflections and an interception in his first 8 games. And as the season went on, he just got better and better. And you started to see the snap differential between him and Jermaine Pratt kind of even out, and kind of Wilson going more into that role. So Honestly, like Matt, would you recommend the Bengals even re-sign Josh Bynes or just put Logan Wilson into a more prominent role?
I mean, it's tough because I think Bynes did a lot for it. They made him a captain, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
I think Bynes does a lot for them. But the other thing they have going on is, so you got Bynes. I believe Jordan Evans is a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get to Marcus Bailey in a minute, who barely saw any action. So how do you feel about your depth is what it comes down to for me. Like, do you want to be able to bump guys up so you can give Marcus Bailey a shot? If you feel good about Pratt was a little disappointing this year, but if you feel good about Pratt going forward and you feel good about Wilson and Davis Gaither, it's right in front of me and I forget it. It's a giant picture of him. If you feel good about those guys and then you're like, well, we want to see what Marcus Bailey can do, I think you probably let both those guys walk.
Yeah.
It's a little bit risky there, but I don't know. You're right. Wilson looks special to me, and I think we're going to talk about Davis Gaither in a minute here. I think Davis Gaither had some flashes where it was like, this dude's going to be good. So we'll get into him right now, though. I think with Wilson and Davis Gaither, one of the big differences we saw was from the beginning of the season, these were your third down linebackers. And they were your 3rd and 1 linebackers most of the time. They were your 3rd and 10 linebackers. Like, it wasn't just these are pass down linebackers. They were playing these guys on 3rd downs. And like, that's a huge difference. Like Jermaine Pratt last year, he would get a couple reps, like they give him a drive and then he'd screw up and they'd bench him. So he wasn't getting maybe costing yourself, defensively in the short term that way. They let these guys get reps and get better. We look at not Devin White, Devin Bush.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Bush in his rookie year in Pittsburgh, I swear I heard a couple of people calling him a bust in September. Like, he struggled at the beginning of that. You got to let these guys work through it, especially these linebackers, because there's so much going on at the linebacker position. You got to do everything. You got to let these guys work through it. So I was really impressed with how this coaching staff worked both of these guys in at the beginning of the year. So we'll get into Davis Gaither now. Do you have anything else on Wilson?
No, I think for both Wilson and Davis Gaither, that's a great point, because like Davis Gaither, for like a certain stretch in the latter part of the season, he only played like 5-7 snaps a game, but they were right where he should have been playing. Like, I think they nailed giving these guys the appropriate roles. So they gave him playing time. They didn't necessarily make him like, just regular old backups, do the same thing that Pratt and Bynes do, but giving them experience that benefits them right out of the gate so they can eventually grow into something more. I think that's crucial to remember.
Yeah, and Davis Gaither, we're going to see a great rep here where he is playing a true in-the-box linebacker, and that is something he did not really do in college.
Yeah, because he was that. Yeah,
he was like an edge/nickel in college, basically. And we're going to see him come in here, like, doesn't really get off the block very squarely, kind of off balance. And
he was always more the guy that, like, he wanted to take on blocks. He just want to kind of just like shift under and knife under them a little bit. Sometimes like kind of gets a little muddy when you're analyzing run fits. But this is Mackenzie Alexander's interception, but I believe Davis Gaither dropped back in the middle zone of this like too high look, and it took away this post route over the middle and forced Roethlisberger to look underneath, and that's when Davis Gaither kind of came in there. So I think it was a good zone play by Davis Gaither to get where he needed to be in the landmark and force Ben to make a bad decision. Yeah,
we're going to see him dropping off right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an awesome play right there. And again, you see the athleticism. This is the one who's in coverage. Is that Jaceki?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so that dude's like athletic and like 6'7" out there.
That was fun. This was like back-to-back plays.
Ben. Oof. I mean, these are super versatile linebackers that they brought in here. Marcus Bailey really too. Like, all three of them, you watch their college film, they're all really good tacklers. And they all like they were Swiss Army knives. Like they would blitz, they'd play on the edge. They play Davis Gaither not so much in the box, but the other two in the box. So you see a lot of different things out of them. And look, say what you will about Luanarumo, like they use their players in a lot of different ways. They are very versatile in what they do. We see some of these 3-4 looks where it's 5 defensive linemen, but then we'll see others where it's a Logan Wilson on the edge, like we saw in that earlier clip. So versatility at the linebacker position is really huge and a great asset. And you make a great point that like Davis Gaither is a different kind of dude, and he has to learn how to play in the box because he's got to be able to do that. Like, there's just not going to be enough value for the other things he can do to keep him around. But the other things are kind of what make him special. The being able to be a 4-3 guy who's playing in coverage, to give him that extra linebacker, but give them nickel-ish athleticism out there as well, or to send him out the edge. I mean, that was one thing I was a little disappointed in was we didn't see really sack production out of them. They sent both of those guys a few times, and despite the issues they were having with pass rush overall, it would have been nice to see that give it a little kickstart.
Yeah, and they were just sugaring A gaps and showing blitz or dropping back, and it just never really amounted to anything necessarily production wise. But now let's go to Markus Bailey now, who only played like 44 snaps this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, and look, that's going to be the issue with Bailey. Like, and this is a great draft value kind of conversation to have. It's at what point are you taking too many guys at one position? Kind of the Bengals draft 3 guards this year. The third guy's probably not going to get much action.
Right.
We know Bailey was coming off an injury, but yeah, he didn't get those reps. I think the last game of the year he got 12 reps on defense, and that was the only time he got over 10.
Oh, this is mean. It's just a mistake. Just
sitting, looking for the boot, not really playing his role there, not really understand what's going on.
Well, when I was doing these, like every week, whenever he was playing, like, all right, well, what is he doing? Unfortunately, it was just like there's just not much to really show, unfortunately. And this is just lack of experience. This is like one of the second or third games that he played, and this is already in December. So
yeah. I mean, it's December, but it's his September.
Yeah. And this one, like, it's unfortunate. And then he had like a penalty on the kickoff on the very next play. But I mean, yeah, you want him to break on the ball a little bit quicker there, but still, it's just unfortunate, isolated incident.
And look, I think it's important to note here too. He's just getting lined up and the ball snapped.
Yeah.
And he got him out there playing coverage. I talk about these guys being versatile. I never saw him do this at Purdue. I didn't watch every game, but I never saw him doing this. So, and again, this is a matchup thing. This is getting your best athletes and your best players, and that's what they had to do there. But yeah, so those are a couple of tough plays. I like him, and I like this film coming out. He's coming off the injury. He wasn't getting the reps, and this is what I'm talking about. That maybe Evans and Bynes have to go so you can develop Akeem and Bailey a little bit more, and put Wilson and Pratt probably in there as your starters for now, and then get more reps and more development for those other two rookies.
I think Bailey just replacing what Evans was on special teams and also on defense is the ideal path for him. I don't think you can expect him to be a quality starter next season, but just to have that progression behind Pratt, Wilson, and Davis Gaither, I think is probably the right move for him. Unfortunately, like you said, injuries just overcame his year, and you just got to start from square one.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's an Austin Calitro kind of guy out there or something. If you don't feel great about the depth, that's something you had to figure out in camp. We've seen very limited of Markus Bailey, but the coaches get to see him every day. You know what I mean? So, how do they feel about him? They put him out there at the end of the year. They went for it, but so that's going to be an interesting conversation. John and I, probably in about a month or so here, just prior to free agency, we're gonna come back and do a dual episode, talking about the roster, who's coming back, who are potential free agencies, and then where are the holes? What are the areas that the Bengals need to address? And that's one of the things we'll talk about. That'd be a big area of discussion that will continue. Is what do you do about Bynes? What do you do about Jordan Evans, who, big special teams player, but actually did some decent things on defense when he got in there too. Played a pretty good role there. I mean, I don't know, if you can get him back, that's not bad. It's not bad depth to have. It's just, is Marcus Bailey's development more important?
They are very much set a linebacker, which is something that you could not say for the past 10 years.
Yeah, right. And they can all run too.
Yeah.
Go figure. Right. All right. So we're going to talk about Khalid Kareem.
For him only playing like 100 or so snaps, he had some very quality plays.
Yeah. No sack production to speak of.
Yeah.
Which is, standard, I guess, to this defense right now. But yeah, does a good job here. Shuffling down, takes it on the block, gets off, boom.
Yeah, it's just reading the play, but also keeping that leverage with the tackle. And then this is impressive. Just keeping that balance, working back to the ball. Like, it's where.
Play. Yeah. Ooh. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. I get excited and cut you off there.
No, like it's where you want to see, like, when you talk about if a guy's athletic or not, like, you're not the guys aren't running 3-cone drills or short shuttles on field, but they're taking on contact and they got to keep balance and just work through stuff like this. And that's a great example. This is like that drill at the combine where you're like shuffling your feet a little bit, just make sure that you're upright and you're square. And yeah, it's just a quality play. Like Khalid already at like 22 is a very aware player. He knows how to play with leverage. He knows how to stay in his fits. And I just think he's a quality athlete as a run defender, which is, it's still a valuable piece for a 5th round pick.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's dealing with the block, recovering from that, and then dealing with, maybe, okay, he's taking a good angle because he's bending down the line, which is what he needs to do. But then when Connor looks to cut this way back, just adjusting to that.
Yeah.
And then just throwing him down. Like, that's an awesome play. I love that play.
Yeah, he's taking on a little bit of a zone block here.
Yep. Yeah, taking that on, throwing that to the side, getting off, making a tackle on the line of scrimmage. That's awesome. I think this is his sack, which is a 0-yard game. It's
a hustle play.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's a great hustle play, and then it's just, playing the boot like this is really incredible too.
Yeah.
Shuffle, get rid of that guy.
Like this is how a guy like him wins, because he's never going to be an uber athlete. He may never have like the greatest hands, but just knowing where to be, like just having that awareness, like that can get you production, that can keep you on the field.
People are the comments are gonna kill me for this. It's Sam Hubbard-esque.
Yeah, incredibly, yes.
Hubbard, not a tremendous athlete, but knows how to do everything well, and he's very good at a lot of things. He's just not like an absolute ass kicking, sack machine. Which tells you that we didn't see any sack production out of Kareem, but maybe similar to Hubbard, once they learn who he is, they can generate some sacks for him. Because really, you look at Hubbard last year. Hubbard had a lot of sacks in 2019, but you watch the film. Lou Anarumo had a lot of sacks. They were moving him around. They were stunting him. So, all right, Hakeem, my guy, Hakeem. Look, got some starts, got some some good action early, and then just had some struggles later in the year. We're gonna see him at left tackle here.
I'm surprised we didn't include any Steelers film, because I honestly thought he played really well in that game, but there was a couple struggles in this game against the Dolphins. This one was a decent rep though. Yeah,
so I really like his feet here. Good feet, good athleticism, comes back, adjusts to it. That's a good rep. Obviously not for Bobby Hart. And then we get this. Just
there's too much going on.
He's playing man on the guy and he's squared up and like he just doesn't really, like, when he was kicking, he was good, but now he's worried about the inside and it gets him out of position and he can't adjust. And that was the end of Brandon Allen's day, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's troubling. but again, he's a rookie, and I described him as my guy at the beginning, and I was a big fan of him in draft season, but I said I don't want him to play this year. So
Right.
I think he could use an off season.
He has tools to succeed, like in some capacity, but I mean, that's just him guessing wrong. And you want guys with like you want that athleticism, and he shows it very often in his pass sets. But the calmer the feet, the better usually.
Yeah. So we're gonna see him here. So this is another thing, and I'll give Jim Turner credit for this. When Hakeem played, they ran this play a lot, where they pull him around and put him up in the linebacker. So I mean, that's a good understanding of this is how you can win with this kid. They didn't really do it with Fred. I think I saw it a couple times with Jonah. So that's a good little block on that. And then we're going to go to the butt fumble in the same game. All right. First of all, I think he's confused because we don't get a double team here. So all of a sudden there's two linebackers. I think he doesn't know who to block.
Because essentially, like, this is a way to like scheme in have like a lead blocker, like a fullback. But
yes, yep.
But in order to not like stack the box like that. So like a fullback would just be having eyes for like the mic or whatever. But if the defense is rotating a certain way and you have two linebackers where they like in the same spot, there's just mid snap confusion. And unfortunately, that's what happened here.
Yeah, and so this guy knifes in, and I almost said John Miller. That's Quentin Spain, right? 57. So Spain decides he needs to help out with this, which leaves Hopkins alone on this guy, which means your double team isn't going up to the linebacker. And this isn't on Bobby Hart because Bobby Hart had to block that guy, but Bobby Hart can't make this block. So that leaves Van Der Esch unblocked, and Hakeem's doing his best. Yeah. So, I mean, that's I just complimented fired offensive line coach Jim Turner. I'll compliment fired defensive coordinator Greg Nolan here. That's a pretty good little scheme.
It is hard to blame guys for trying to do too much, especially when they're very inexperienced like this. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just doing stuff with rookies. These are the things you should expect. Hakeem, I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Hakeem because a lot of people thought he was a guard. He and Jonah Williams are both like an inch short in arm length for what people like at tackle. Jim Turner didn't give a shit about that stuff. I'm not a huge proponent of it either. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, I don't think it needs to be that sharp of a cutoff, especially with guys like these two who are really athletic. I think you can make up for it in those ways. They're both really athletic and really smart. So it's going to be interesting to see what Frank Pollock thinks of that. And it's one thing for Jonah because you made a huge investment in Jonah. You don't take a guard with the 11th overall pick unless he's Quentin Nelson. You know what I mean? So I like people have talked about, draft Penny and move Jonah inside. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, maybe I would buy that they'll move Jonah to the right side if they draft a certain tackle or sign a certain tackle. I would buy that at least. But I don't think Jonah's going to be playing guard. But Hakeem's a different story, obviously. That's a much different investment. So yeah, could Hakeem be the future one of the guard positions or a future depth guy even at one of the guard? I mean, he's a 6th round pick. If he's a rotational piece that starts a game here or there for you at guard, he was a pretty good pick.
He is whatever they deem him to be because the fact that he was a 6th round pick. And I think when people talk about Jonah moving inside, I think you might run into some trouble with dealing with power. And I think maybe along the lines, like the same can be said about Hakeem because Hakeem's biggest strength is athleticism. And you want that athleticism on the edge to protect against the best pass blocker or the best pass rushers. If you move Hakeem inside, you kind of minimize his greatest strength, but also have him take on challenges that he might not be able to, he might not be equipped to handle. So you look at Frank Pollock, who was a part of the staff that moved Zach Martin inside after he was a tackle in college, but they took on Lyle Collins. A lot of people thought was a guard at LSU, and he developed into a tackle at right tackle. So there's not a clear I guess, track history with Pollock in that regard. But I think we can trust that he'll play the players where he believes they will best succeed. And that could just be Hakeem being a backup tackle with potential guard versatility.
Yeah, definitely. And you make a great point about that. And the reason that I didn't want Hakeem to play this year is because I think he needs a year in the weight room, to be honest with you. Another very interesting thing about Hakeem, he had 3 different offensive line coaches in college. And I think it was 3 in the last 3 years. So I think he had the same one as freshman and sophomore year. So, I mean, if you do the math on that, like Frank Pollock is going to be his 5th coach since he enrolled in college. So that's a little wonky too. It's tough because, guys, new coach comes in, he's just learning who you are, and then so trying to actually develop you. Plus, he was a 4-year starter, and you had a rotating door of offensive line coaches at Kansas. So you got to figure, look, coaching offensive line is really hard. Okay? Coaching anything is really hard, but coaching offensive line is really hard. And when you take over a position and you come in and the position is a problem and you got one guy that's a dude, you kind of let him be a dude. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much he's been coached overall, because I think the offensive line coach is probably focusing on getting the other 4 guys going, knowing that in the Big 12, Hakeem was a very good player. So it'll be interesting now, Pollock having a chance to develop him, and Hakeem coming at it from a different angle to see what he can become, what he can develop into. But you definitely see it, like he is kind of like Jonah Light. He's athletic, he's smart, he studies. Not great anchor necessarily, slightly short arms. So, I mean, he's a pretty good little Jonah backup. What are you looking at like that?
Yeah. Also recently engaged. Congrats to.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I saw that on Instagram. So, yep. Hakeem getting married. So now we're going to get into Joe Burrow. Look, we cannot say enough good things about Joe Burrow. So we're going to say a few bad things about him. But no, Burrow's awesome. But let's just look at some of the struggles he had against Pittsburgh. Obviously, the deep ball thing was a struggle all year. His feet are really wide here, and then he's off target on a ball that really should have and needed to be completed.
Yeah, like he's not like on that last one, he wasn't really like stepping into it. He was just kind of like trusting all of his arm, and that can kind of lead to issues. But I don't know about you, Matt, but like when watching that Pittsburgh game, it just seemed like it was more of the back 7 giving him troubles than the pressure, which was the primary issue going into the game. Like, oh my God, the Steelers are going to sack him 7 times like the Ravens did. But honestly, I think the Steelers did a great job of disguising coverages and kind of mixing up a lot of stuff in there to kind of confuse his post-snap read, which is what he was successful at, entering this game. And it was surprising to see this, especially for this game.
Yeah, and like I really wanted to see him get a second chance at the Steelers, and I really wanted to see him get a second chance at the Ravens, because both those defenses, I think they just got him thinking too much. And I think that's part of it when your technique goes away. Look at this. This is an easy throw. I mean, look. I'm going back too far, sorry. But look, the throw to T, that's not easy.
No.
that throw is hard as hell. All right, that's that side pocket throw there. Putting it in the right spot on the sideline. That is a difficult throw.
This one he's set and he's got time, and it's just a miss.
And he just missed. Yeah, he just misses it, and it's that short pass, and he'd been so accurate and such. So incredible with his placement on these short and medium range balls, and there we don't see it. He didn't step into this one here. He couldn't, because the pocket's collapsing on him. This, by the way, is what I was talking about with Auden Tate. I really, honestly, and we're being rough on Burrow, but he didn't get a lot of help in this game.
No.
I mean, there were some drops. I forget how many drops there were. There's some drops, but like this is what I'm talking about with Auden Tate. Use your goddamn body.
Yeah.
What, you're like 6'5", 230 or something like that? Like, how the hell is this guy coming around your back shoulder? And there were like 2 identical plays like that from Tate, I believe, in this game. Now, first of all, obviously this is a blown coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But at the same time, this is a good ball.
This guy kind of, this kind of got like dragged a little bit because like, oh, why is he like leading him back? But like he's leading him away from the safety here. He's giving him more room to work with.
He's giving him room. He's sending him where he wants to go. And look, T turns and he's running.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, if you put the ball inside, maybe you're throwing a pick. But also, like if you just put it there, you know, like 5 yards right in front of him, it still could be a collision. And so you put him in the best spot to rack it here on a pretty deep ball. So this is actually a really good ball.
I think our standards are kind of skewed a little bit because like if that's Mahomes or Allen, he's like rifling that like just straight away and he's like leading the receiver. But like only a couple quarterbacks can really like make that throw with that velocity and that placement. So with Burrow knowing what his arm is and knowing where to best place it, I think this is as good of a throw as you'll see.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, this is obviously we did T at the beginning, but like just the way he can turn. Like there are plays at Clemson. Like he was almost backpedaling. He was like running seam routes, and he would just like turn and catch balls like this. It was like, what the hell? Like it's very awkward. Like you don't see guys really doing that, but yeah, like the way he just kind of flips around. I mean, his hips are incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's some of the stuff, and I didn't want to beat the Burrow stuff to death because obviously we talk about Burrow all the time. We know how good he is. I am currently 2 games into a full 10-game breakdown of everything that he did this season. So you can check that out on this channel as well, and that's going to be coming out and week by week going through and kind of looking at his development and things, but. Yeah. Now, what are your thoughts overall? I know we were very critical of the first Zach Taylor draft. What are your thoughts overall on this rookie class? And, not just how they perform, but what do you think about the future?
I think right after the draft, we all had serious praise for it, and rightfully so. They were all quality college players, and I think they all had value for what the current team was, and I think that remains the case here. Burrow is Burrow. Higgins is even better than I gave him credit for, at least coming out. Just the sky's the limit for him. Wilson, Davis Gaither, quality players for what they do well. I think Khalid Kareem is already at very, like you said, very near what Sam Hubbard is already. And if Adeniji is just like a swing tackle, just a quality depth guy, that's fine. And whatever Bailey ends up being, that is what it is. He's a 7th round pick. So I know PFF graded as the top draft, and like there's not a lot of flaws in it, and it would be even better if the team itself was even more set than it already is. It's just that when the rest of your roster is very troubled, you're expecting a lot from these guys, and if they're not like these high quality players are out of the gate, your expectations get kind of skewed. But for what they should have been able to do and for what they did, I think we can be very happy with it.
Yeah, and I think we look at Burrow as the savior, but we knew he wasn't going to be the instant savior. But you still they put so much on him this year. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm doing the week by week breakdown, and you look at the first week, and he throws for 193 yards, and they get into that Browns game, and number one, they were outmanned on defense, and they knew it. They knew they had to score points, and number two, they knew they couldn't run the ball. So. Go win it, Joe. You know what I mean? Like they put it on it, and he couldn't do enough, but he was 39 for 61 and 400 and some yards and 3 touchdowns. They couldn't pull that one off, but right away it's like it's on you, and I think they signed Joe Mixon, and they wanted it to be Joe Mixon, and they thought that they could win with that offensive line and that they could be a strong running game. I think now you look at who they hired. and his past and his background, we're going to see a lot of outside zone. We're going to see a lot of boots, and we're going to see them trying to put the ball more in Joe Mixon's hands. So hopefully they are investing some off the field, on the field as well as off the field in terms of the new coach for the position to back that up. But I think they're going to try and take a little bit of the heat off Burrow, but realizing that they got a guy that they can go into a shootout with, and if they add some talent at the receiver position as well, the offensive line, giddy up.
Yeah, and I think everybody, people can talk about the analytics and everything about running the ball, but I think everybody wants to run the ball effectively and efficiently, not necessarily X amount of times a game, but just have that be an asset, not have everything fall on the quarterback. But at the same time, I also think for the most part in their passing game, it was quality stuff. It was efficient when pieces were healthy and they had a certain identity with it. So I don't want to see the passing offense change too dramatically, but also you don't want to see a huge discrepancy in what they look like pre-snap passing and also running, because that can lead to issues, and defenses can game plan against them a lot better.
Yeah, sure, definitely. And that's the thing with being in a lot of 11 personnel. That kind of mitigates that a little bit. That there's only so much you can do there if you're running and passing out of that stuff. They love receivers that can block, so that kind of helps them to be able to run the ball in those situations as well. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, yeah, you make a good point there. I think you look at this draft class. There's definitely a lot of talent there. I think that there are guys that you could have seen go higher. Like Hakeem was a guy that I wasn't the only one that was big on him, and thought he could have been more of a mid-round than a late-round kind of guy. Marcus Bailey, I had a third-round grade on Marcus Bailey. He had 2 ACLs, which I do not account for in my grades because I am not a doctor. So that's always been my policy is I put a little asterisk on it and say, ask somebody that knows about that shit. But I mean, I think, if he comes out of it and he's back to who he was, I think you've got 3 pretty good linebackers there. And yeah, I mean, if he can give you what Jordan Evans gave you or a little bit more, that's a pretty good investment, in the 7th round coming out there. So you make a good point about Jordan Evans. So hitting shit. So I believe Bullock's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. They just gave a pretty big bonus to Gotzel.
Mm-hmm. Backup long snapper.
Yeah, the backup long snapper, and Clark Harris is a free agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huber's good. I believe.
He's also a free agent, though.
What's that?
He's also a free agent.
Oh, shit. Okay, see, I thought he was under contract because he was just a free agent a couple years ago. Okay. So, yeah, all those guys are free agents. But we mentioned Jordan Evans. Sean Williams was a pretty big special teams player. I mean, we've talked about the potential of Gio getting cut for cap reasons because they're spending so much money at running back. And, like those are your long snappers. I mean, I'm trying to think of who else is like
Brandon Wilson's the biggest.
I think Ethan Carter was a pretty big special teams guy too. I think he's is he in a contract?
Ethan Carter's a free agent too. So is Brandon Wilson.
So yeah, they're gonna have to work it out for them on special teams next year. I mean, they replaced Fedge last year. Yeah, we'll probably get Huber back. Huber's a vet. He's a Cincinnati guy, so hopefully they'll be able to get that done. Obviously, Bullock we've all been ready for a while. So yeah, I mean, there's potentially some big changes there. So that's definitely a reason why a Bailey and even a Kareem Khalid could be important in some of those roles.
Yeah, like I think Simmons said, like, yeah, I want this guy back, but also, you have to look at where you're already spending, and so yeah, I think that like Harris and Huber, they should both be back. I think they want to see what Seibert can do, Austin Seibert, in the offseason and in training camp, and then I would imagine that Wilson comes back too. But yeah, like maybe you don't keep Evans because you want to see what Bailey can do, and so there's going to be some slight turnover, but also I think losing Fedge was initially sort of a shock and something that they had to adjust for, and maybe they don't want to do that over again.
Yeah, I mean, you're just like between all those guys, because I mean, Sean Williams is gone. Sean Williams is gone. Seathan, I would imagine they'll be motivated to bring him back,
Right.
particularly with the Uzama injury. His hands were surprisingly good when he saw some action on offense this year too. Like better than we expected anyway. So he's a quality piece. Thank you very much, Bradley Nance. I forgot a big one.
Yeah,
Brandon Wilson, also a free agent. So I mean, yes, there you go. I mean, these day 3 picks are going to be really important. You already need to build some depth, in particular in your defensive line, your defensive backfield with some of those picks. But yeah, you're going to need guys that can play. So hopefully, like a guy like Marcus Bailey can step up in some of those areas. And I mean, you get 2 7th-round picks between the somewhere late in the draft. Are you drafting a kicker too at some point here? That takes away from a potential death piece as well. So we'll see. Anybody, you've been paying a lot of attention to the Senior Bowl?
Very marginally. Like, there's no.
They're not showing nearly as much on television. Obviously, there aren't people like you tweeting me videos like there have been in the past.
In terms of kickers, I don't think we've heard anything about Tyler Bass situation. So
gotcha.
Beyond that,
yeah, that's what I was looking for. But
yeah,
but yeah, so we'll see. There's definitely gonna be some big turnovers there. So that's something we'll have to get into when we do those that roster episode is talking about all of this potentially going on special teams and what some of this turnover could mean. So yeah, good thing we got a good coach. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Good thing we got a good coach in this special teams unit taking care of that stuff. So, but I clicked on this in accident. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Logan Wilson should go into next year as a starter. Yeah, I think your first, second, and third round picks are starters next year, and not to say anything negative about Boyd, but like. I think their receivers 1 and 1A basically at this point, and I think Logan Wilson might be your best linebacker at this point, and obviously Burrow's the dude at quarterback. So you're definitely getting a lot of the top of this draft, and we'll see what they can do with the other guys.
Logan Wilson's quietly going to be 25 this year. He's exactly my age, so it's nice to have that guy develop really early, at least in his rookie contract, to be a starter. Because if you're entering your late 20s, it's still like a backup. It's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but that was a positive with him coming out. He was ready to go from the get-go. Yeah,
definitely. And that's the thing about the age. It's it's if you're producing, it's like, all right, like Burrow's a little old.
Yeah,
Burrow's ready to go.
He was a pro already in 2019. He was.
So he was good to go, but yeah, like with some of these guys that have to develop and you're that age, that's an issue. But yeah, let's get Wilson in there. So yeah, he's going to be like 27 when he's up for his extension. So they gotta get a lot of value out of that guy while he's cheap. So yeah, any other thoughts? We're probably closing in about an hour here. Any other thoughts on the rookies? Any other conversation you want to have while we're here?
No, I will be doing a Joe Burrow player review type article on CJ, just comparing him to other rookies of the past in terms of production and stuff like that. But obviously, if you're into more of a film study type of situation, definitely check out Matt's final 8 versions of the Burrow breakdown series. So we got all the Burrow
content. Was nice and short too. I think the first 2 were like 10 minutes combined. So it's just like a couple plays, kind of a quick hitting thing, just kind of hitting the highlights. And the low ones too, but you know what I mean.
He's getting ready to throw sometime in February, but we're covering everything that he did in 2020. So stick around for that.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely, and yeah, you're getting a couple of different perspectives on that stuff, and looking at things from a little bit of a different angle. So just like us getting together today, it's kind of good to check out both of those things. Yeah. So, but lots of draft coverage. Like I said, we're gonna talk about the roster before they get into free agency. Hopefully by then we'll have an idea of what might be happening with the franchise, and maybe somebody getting an extension or something like that. At that point, I would think that this year, with everybody's crazy cap situation, players might welcome the franchise tag. You know what I mean? Like that might be.
Yeah.
Sure, I can be a top 5 in my position and punt this contract negotiation thing down to next year when we'll probably have a lot more money. That's a pretty good deal, because yeah, it's gonna be a weird year this year, definitely, for sure. So, all right. So I guess we'll wrap it up then. So yeah, good. Check out all that stuff. Lots of good Burrow content. Lots of good draft content throughout the year as we get ready for changing things in Cincinnati, turn this thing around. See ya. Good day.